We would like to start soon, and I hope you will be ready. And I'd like to introduce the speaker, but before, I would like to make sure that everything is ready for everybody. Before today's keynote speech, I would like to introduce a few people. One is my former student and former actually alumna of SMU and also alumna of SMU in Japan program at Kansei Latin University, Claire Hewitt. And she's now in an interesting place called the U.S. Embassy in Tokyo. And while a graduate student of the joint program of JD and public policy program of Lyndon Johnson School of University of Texas. And then, in a sense, those who are SMU students who are participating in SMU in Japan program, if you are interested in Asia, and then I believe that you are interested in Asia because you are participating in this program, and then kind of role model. So you'll see. And then I'm sure that you are very happy to see your former teacher when you are here. Hirayama Sensei is here, Mito Sensei is here, and then also I know that you interviewed Iguchi Sensei when you are here, and then also Miyake Sensei when she participates, and she wrote a thesis about a very interesting topic, an uncontroversial topic called East China Sea and South China Sea. Today, I'm delighted. I'm delighted to introduce today's keynote speaker, Professor and Dr. Takahiro Shinyo, and then actually one more should be added. He's also ambassador. He's a career diplomat, and then later he became a professor of KGU, and then also he served as vice president of KGU. So he was the vice president of KGU when we started this program, the SM in Japan program at Kansei Latin University. He was very supportive. Actually, I still remember that he gave a toast at the reception, welcome reception of the first year of the SMU in Japan program. I think that Claire remembered it. And what he said was very interesting, and then I still remember it. That is, he said, it's very important for you to participate in this program, especially in the age that Trump is a presidential candidate. Interesting implication, I think. I'm delighted to have Professor Shinyo to be a keynote speaker of today's keynote speech and in this symposium. So please join me for welcoming an ambassador, Dr. and Professor Takahiro Shinyo.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to be here, and thank you so much for your introduction, Professor Takeuchi. And I'm very much delighted to see Professor Holyfield, and also the many professors and scholars from SMU. And also, of course, I'm delighted to see so many people from the KGU. The SMU is the oldest partner university of KGU, of which we are very proud, because it really started, our history of international relations with the SMU. We share the common values. We share the common belief. So I think it is very important to revive, so to speak, the academic activities between the two universities from Japan and the United States. Having said this, I would like to, without any further ado, I would like to start with my presentation. which is the U.S.-Japan relations and Japanese role in international order. Frankly speaking, I have never been engaged with the U.S.-Japan relations when I was Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I was mostly involved in the matters like United Nations or the European affairs. So I'm not a specialist of the U.S.-Japan relations, but no matter how you are posted in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, you should know the substance of the U.S.-Japan relations, because this is the basement. Because the fundamental, the principles and fundamental policy of Japan, so that without knowing the, U.S.-Japan relations, I think it is not possible for a Japanese diplomat to conduct its policy, his or her policy or her work, regarding relationship with the other countries. I was ambassador in Germany, but even in Europe, the U.S.-Japan relations played an important role in so many fields. We have now a backing from the President Trump. I think you might have so many critics and the critical views on Mr. Trump. But one thing I think I have to say thank you very much is on behalf of the Japanese government. I'm not representing Japanese government anymore, but as a diplomat, as I used to be a diplomat, that he has been really working for the abduction issues. He kept promise, with Prime Minister Abe, that he will bring this issue to the attention of Kim Jong-un, and he said. And according to the news report, I think he might have done this a couple of times during his talks with the Kim Jong-un, be it bilateral or be it the large conference. So now I think it's very important for the Japanese government to start with the negotiations with the Kim Jong-un. But the problem is how, because I think for a long time, it has been already a long time that the bilateral talks was conducted between the two countries. We don't have any diplomatic relations with North Korea. So the problem is that through which channel the negotiation should start regarding the Japanese and North Korean, experts. Through the U.S. channel, because the U.S. has a lot of channel right now because of the the visit of Trump. Because we don't have any secret service or the information, CIA type of the organization. We don't have any such kind of things in Japan. So it's sometimes very difficult for us to get the underwater or under the table channel. Or should we depend on South Korea? Because now South Korea has a good relations with North Korea. So maybe I think it will be possible for South Koreans to provide us the opportunity to approach to North Koreans. So through South Korean channel or through United States channel, our bilateral channel is not functioning. In the past, yes, it functioned, when Prime Minister Koizumi visited North Korea and then took, how many, 5 or 6, abductees directly from North Korea. In those days, the channel was there, but now we don't have. Okay, having said this, in this regard, I think most of the Japanese people are very much thankful. Okay, before going to the U.S.-Japanese relations, I would like to point out changes in the contemporary multipolar world. The first is the decline of the West and liberal world order. I think this topic has been, I assume, that discussions have been already done or will be done in this session. Because of the America First policy, and because of the Brexit, the West is now, approaching to the declining course. It seems to me. The reason why is very simple, because the West was begun by the United States after World War II, and with close cooperation with Britain. So it was Anglo-Saxon countries, United States and Britain, which promoted the concept of the West, and including Japan or many other European countries. The West became richer and a very powerful league, so to speak. It's a league. But since Trump assumed his post, I think, and also the Brexit, it seems to me that this course, this league is weakening to a great extent. And also the prevailing authority, not autocratic. I think autocratic is too much to be said. I would like to say that authoritarian, strong, powerful, dogmatic leaders like Putin or Xi Jinping or Erdogan, and possibly Mr. Trump, to most of the the Japanese and also to most of the Europeans as well. And then with this, I think the democracy is in crisis because the democracy does function very well, and we are very proud of that. We are a democratic country because of the democratic, the structure of Japan and the rest of the world, particularly in the West. And when you are, taking the course of the democratic and liberal democracy, or a member of the free, liberal democratic countries, then you will enjoy the expansion of the economic, development, and you are richer. You become richer. And that was the, so to speak, sign of the goodness of, so to speak, the democratic world or liberal democracy. We believe in it. It's a kind of belief. It's philosophy, but it's also an action, doing together with the other countries. But, I think in the past, the more than 70% of the world, the wealth are shared by the democratic countries. The world GDP share, 50% of the world GDP share are, of those from those democratic countries. But right now, I think it is less than 50%. When you look at the GDP, total GDP of the democratic countries in the world, it is less than 50%, 49, 48%. So the people are not so much satisfied with the situation. The rest of the non-democratic countries are more than half, GDP-wise. And according to the statistics of the IMF or prediction of IMF, in the next decade, to come, then the share of those GDPs, total GDP of democratic countries will become even less, 30%, 1/3 of the the world GDP, simply merely 30%. So maybe I think you'll see what those democratic or free liberal world order or world liberal countries means. And out of the 15 top 15 countries based on the GDP per capita, how much? I think the 2/3 of the world GDP per capita is shared by the non-democratic countries. Well, non-democratic countries, I think it is very difficult to say, whether Singapore is a democratic country or non-democratic. Singapore is classified as non-democratic countries, so including Singapore and so on, the non-democratic countries, of course, first and foremost, China and Russia and so on and so forth. the share is will be the increasing to a great extent per capita basis. I think the present day will show that believing and implementing democracy will not lead to a success story of a country, which is already affluent society, affluent countries. There will be only a minimal development. That's the reason why most of the countries in the developed world, like the United States, Britain, and Europe, the people started to say that we need our own interest, we need our own beneficial profit through the way of populism and also the America First policy. They are thinking of themselves. So I think this is the real crisis for democracy, and we have to address this issue much more than ever. And proliferation of nuclear weapons, of course, this is a reality, not something that it could happen, but it's a reality. When it comes to the matter of the North Korean issues, when it comes to the matter of the Iran, I don't know, Iran will start further. But I think through Trump's, the America's withdrawal from the treaty frameworks, I think there might be a possibility if the management is not well done. And I think it is very difficult, daunting task for the rest of the countries of the West European countries and the others to maintain this framework with Iran. So I think that there might be a chain reaction if the control, if the discussions or negotiations with North Korea is not going well, and also the eroding global governance. I don't have to say G7, but we have seen in G7 in Canada was a very catastrophic one, and the isolation of the United States from the other friendly countries, including Japan. The hardest line was Germany and France. But I think Japanese also share the view that the protectionism shall not be the case. And it is very important to stop that. Otherwise, I think Europeans will be, retaliating, and also the other countries retaliating. What brings this situation to? In which direction? It is very clear. And also the emerging trade war, between U.S., China, and between U.S. and EU, and possibly between U.S. and Japan. Japan is not is not willing to, wage trade war with the United States. Japan is still very calm in this, up until now. But there might be some point at which point Japan must also raise voice and appeal to the WTO and so on and so forth. We'll be also doing together with the European Union, and so I think this kind of situation will be coming. And also the lesson of the TPP. This is also very important. The Japanese government is sticking to the TPP without America. That is called TPP 11. But of course, it is very much hopeful that when the United States will be coming back to the multilateral framework. What I want to say is that the Trump's political or diplomatic style is that he is not willing to go into the multilateral negotiations. He is not a multilateralist. He's a bilateralist or unilateralist. So that he is very perhaps good at deal with the other counterpart. So this is the bilateral deal. But the diplomatic diplomacy doesn't consist not only of the bilateral but also of multilateral settings. And so multilateral type of negotiation is totally different from a bilateral one. Bilateral one is take it or leave it, or the give and take. So you could be a winner, you could be a loser. Or you could, could win together, maybe, but it is very scarce. But as far as the multilateral negotiation is concerned, not always, the one-sided profit is possible. It is not possible. In case of the multilateral negotiation, everything is possible when it comes to the matter of the win-win situation. Every member of the multilateral negotiations is winning something, or maybe lose situation. Every country will lose something, for attaining the purpose of the climate change, for example. That every country must do something, This is a lose-lose situation. So in multilateral negotiation, you should be prepared that you should lose to attain the common denominator of the attained target. So this is a very important one, but Mr. Trump might not do not understand this point. So the U.S., what lacks regarding the U.S. is that point, the multilateral negotiation. When it comes to G7, WTO, or otherwise, United Nations, well, I think when the United States has a veto, it's okay, because he can monopolize. But in a General Assembly, maybe I think he or the United States will lose majority support. And that exactly happened when it comes to the matter of the Palestinian protection case. The United States has lost only the support of 8 countries. The other countries, more than 120, 30 countries were in favor of the, this proposal put forward by the Arabic countries. So the United States have only 8 supporters in terms of this. Okay, I have spoken too much. Some observation on the multipolar world. It is my view, well, now we are entering the multipolar world, or maybe non-polar world, as Richard Hurst already said this for a couple of years ago, or even, we are entering in the so-called Z0 world, as Ian Bremmer mentioned, for many more years. Well, I don't know which connotation is the right one, but anyway, multipolarity is the case. But I'm not so much sure that the multipolarity is fragile in comparison to the bipolar world in the Cold War days. I'm not so sure whether the multipolarity leads to the very much catastrophic situation of the world order. I'm not so sure. When you look at the Vienna Congress, 1814, I think it was composed of the 6 or 7 countries, in those days. And this Vienna Congress, the agreement which was attained, lasted 400 years. It was a multipolar world in those days. So multipolarity does not necessarily mean it is a fluid, situation is fluid. Situation is, catastrophic. If, of course, the major powers will behave responsibly and wisely. So this is balance of powers situation. Well, I see the dangerous factors, 2 dangerous factors. The one is the increase of entropy. Entropy is, something, showing the disorder or disarray of the situation. This is the very famous law of the second law of the thermodynamics. But I think it could be also applied to the the society composed of the human being. So entropy increase. Globalization also, increase the entropy, and also the decay of the U.S., if it happens, will increase this disorder. And disconcertedness among powers will also cause some, the increase of the entropy. So we should perhaps, face, control how not to increase the entropy. The second one's whether democratic peace could be attained or not. I don't have to explain any more into details about the theory of democratic peace proposed by the Professor Russett. between and among democratic countries, there will be no war. The war is only possible between the democratic countries and non-democratic countries, or among the non-democratic countries. So, according to his thesis, his theory, maybe I think it is a daunting task, but it is good to increase the number of democratic countries in the world. If so many countries are becoming democratic, then the war possibility will not be the case; it will be decreased. But now, I think when you look at the situation, whether the democratic countries will be increasing in number, I'm not so sure. China, surely not, is a democratic country. Russia, well, I don't know, maybe not. And Turkey and some other countries, I think there will be, so we are witnessing so many non-democratic, the countries which have, so to speak, the better economic situation, well, except Russia. So I'm not so sure whether this theory will be applied. Alliance. In this world, maybe I think still it is necessary for us to keep the alliance, because in a multipolar world, no one country is possible to secure its own security alone. We need collaboration. We need treaty. We need alliance. Look at the NATO, or look at the other, the pact. I think we need alliance. We need security friends. So that is also true to Japan. So we need to have alliance strategy in the Asia-Pacific region, but at the same time, entente will become necessary. Entente is less than the alliance. Some part of the field of the interest of the country could be collaborated, despite the fact that they have, the countries have different views, but they can work together. So entente will become even more necessary. If we have the alliance and entente, then I think we can perhaps maintain the present status quo. The next point is the lesson of the CSC. I'm sorry to say that I wrote mistakenly the CECE. It means nothing, CSCE, Conference on Security and Cooperation in Europe, 1975. Amidst the Cold War, there has been a conference held on the security and cooperation issue in Helsinki, and 35 countries from East and West League, gathered, and they agreed three principles. The first is the status quo, maintenance of the status quo, and non-violation of borders. The second one is the economic and technical cooperation. And the third one was, it is very important, human rights, respect for the human rights. Even in 1975, Europeans, including America and Canada, agreed on this point, on these 3 points, and then status quo must be preserved. No violation. You should not use force to change borders. I think this is even more necessary for us to, to implement to the present East Asian situation. So the Asia type of the Helsinki process might become necessary because I think the door is gradually opening, and the windows of opportunities right now because of the Trump's visit and also the change of the Kim Jong-un on the side of North Korea. So I think there is a windows of opportunity, but we should perhaps, anchor these new happenings, the new trend into the very, very safe basement. We need a basement, and this basement could be perhaps the Asia type of the Helsinki process, 1975. Which country will propose? I think it is a question, with Japan or Singapore or some other Asian countries, Thailand, Vietnam, I don't know, Malaysia even. So I think we need this kind of the process to back up, so to speak, the U.S.-Korean deal, and so that the U.S.-Korean deal soft landing, and the Korea will not feel that it is only protected or guaranteed by the United States, but it should be a multilateral guarantee. Then I think there will be a sense of relief on the side of the North Korea. We should initiate this kind of things. Well, I come to the point, how many times? 5 minutes? 10 minutes? Okay. Well, U.S.-Japan relations. Well, frankly speaking, of course, on the side of Japan, there is a bewilderment, worried about how to cope with the divided America, led by the populist president and the declining hegemon of the world. As I see that, there is a clear division in the United States, although I'm not an expert of the American policy, but I see that there is a clear division between the elite and non-elite. Globalization oriented America, or what shall I say, not imperialism, but the empire-oriented United States, or whatever, free trade-oriented America. So this, trend policy could be represented by Clinton or the Democrats, most of the cases. Whereas the, the other side is the, America represented by the middle class or lower class. And that is the isolationist America. And that is the taking care of themselves only America. And also protectionist America. And America First America. So there are two divisions, which is, the last one. The second one is mostly represented by the, conservatives. Oh, I'm sorry. It's UK. Republicans, I'm sorry. So there are, clear divisions, and it's a bewilderment for the Japanese. With which America we should work together? We have been working together, in the past with two of the type of the America, but those two types, they know the limit to which extent, they can, they implement the policy. So no exaggerated policy was the case, so that we were able to, cooperate with the either of these two lines of America. But now we don't know to what extent the Trump's administration is going. There seems to be that there is almost no limit, no border. So I think this is the things that we have really truly worry about the present United States. The second point is that we Japanese might have too much dependent on the United States since the end of the World II. In most of the cases, we're thankful, of course, for the United States. Without the United States, I think it was impossible for Japan to become democratic and developed, leading countries in economy and other fields. But I think the Trump's administration, gave us a chance to think it over. Should we more and more dependent on the U.S. and saying that we are in favor of the U.S.-Japan relations, and that's all, and that solved everything in terms of the Japanese foreign policy. If we are always following America, then what is the diplomacy of Japan? If the U.S.-Japan relations is good, then it solves everything. I think in the past, yes. But from now on, it will not be the case. We should perhaps be more independent in terms of diplomacy, in terms of foreign policy. People think that we Japanese are doing its own diplomacy, but most of the cases, I think, in the multilateral situation, multilateral negotiations, or bilateral one, I think we are too much thinking of the U.S. And what the U.S. is thinking, and how we should behave. So this too much reliance, and politically as well as well, including security as well. We should perhaps think and also well discuss with it, discuss this issue with our closest partners, that is America. And Japan's responsibility as member of the declining West for strengthening the liberal world order in cooperation with the other G7 and democratic nations. If the United States is not willing to consolidate the G7 or consolidate the West, then which country should do? I think what I can think of is perhaps a couple of countries, maybe Germany, France. England, I don't know. Maybe, yes. Britain has so many problems with themselves. And so that maybe I think it is not so much to account on the British, but the Europeans, so I think Japan and Europeans should work together to consolidate the G7 or West world. And I think this trend will be increasing as time goes on. And how to stop the U.S. and its rivals? Well, I'm not saying clearly, but, well, simply put, China, falling into the very difficult word, Thucydides trap, or Peloponnesus War. Well, I don't have to, I'm not a historian, so I'm not in a position to explain, but I think there is a probability, theoretically or realistically, that something could happen in the years to come. Not just because of the the North Korean issues, but because of the China-Taiwan relationship. We have to focus more attention to China-Taiwan relationship. It is becoming also going to pretty dangerous waters. The China will be, of course, the controlling, try to control to the Taiwan as much as possible. And what is the situation? What will the United States do? Because they have the bilateral pact to protect Taiwan, and so that maybe I think we have to also focus the Taiwan traits, Taiwan-China relationship. If that happens, I think it's even more crucial and dangerous. And so Peloponnesus War started by Sparta, against Athens. Athens is a growing power, challenging power. Sparta was the already, the hegemon. And Sparta attacked Athens, and Sparta won. Or both sides lost. Both sides have lost, maybe. So I think this is something that the Thucydides warned as a trap, which might be fallen into if the hegemon or rising power or challenging power are induced to do something out of fear, or I don't know, there might be some other reason. So this must be prevented. And so I think there might be some Japanese role to play in that sense, to prevent that situation to happen. It is no one's interest, nobody's interest in the world. Okay, then Japan's role in world order, I have to come to the conclusion. Stop the trade war and protectionism, yes, of course. And I don't have to say much on this issue. Deal with North Korea in Singapore and Japan's role for the stability of the Korean Peninsula. So it was a deal, bilateral deal. And I don't exactly, the United States has won more or the North Koreans won more. There is there are plenty of arguments. But seen from a traditional viewpoint as a diplomat, ex-diplomat, I would like to say that having seen the joint statement, I think it was clearly beneficial for the North Koreans that their security was, guaranteed through a piece of paper and promise that has been given. Whereas the promise to denuclearize, the CVID, complete and verifiable and irreversible type of the thing, has never been mentioned. And Mr. Pompeo, the Secretary of State, will be negotiating later on. But I think it is extremely difficult when it is not decided. The fundamental principle was not stipulated in the fundamental document. I think it is very much difficult for negotiator later on to negotiate even more, to get more difficult kind of the verifiable things. So I would like to say that it's a hard work. Well, in case of Libya, it was rather easy. So it's no comparison, between Libya and North Korea. North Korea has already nuclear weapons of about 10 or more, and launch on vehicles and, so I'd like to say that the deal has been made, but its outcome will be also on the side of the in favor of the United States. I'm not so sure. And one more thing is that the United States wanted to, the immediate destruction or nuclear denuclearization, or very soon, or very, very, the rapid implementation of this promise. But when I look at the statement, joint statement, then it is nothing but a phased approach. When you look at the joint statement states, says that according to, in paragraph, I don't know, just have to, paragraph 3, reaffirming the April 27, 2018 Panmunjom Declaration, the DPRK commits to work toward complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Nothing has been written with regard to CVID, but even more, I think it is very important to notice that reaffirming the Panmunjom Declaration, previous declaration between the two Koreans, North and South. What is written in the, stipulated in the Panmunjom Declaration? In Panmunjom Declaration, the point 3 and parenthesis number 2, it says, South and North Korea agreed to carry out disarmament in a phased manner, as military tension is alleviated and substantial progress is made in military confidence building. So the Panmunjom Declaration will only say that it should be a phased manner as far as the disarmament is concerned. And in this joint statement between the United States and North Korea, they agreed according to the Panmunjom Declaration. So they agreed to this. So it's, the process is nothing but a phased one, which makes also, not easy situation, bring easy situation to the United States. It will last a long time. Daunting task. And involvement of the IAEA as a verifiable verification authority, I think it takes a long time. So that I wish, we would wish that the negotiations which will be taking place later on will be fruitful one. It's a hard negotiation. Mr. Pompeo should work very hard, well, of course, Japan is supporting the United States position. So whatever is possible, Japan must be ready and should be ready and will be ready to support this process. so that the best and maximum, best situation will be attained. What Japan is able to do is, of course, there are a couple of things. The political support or material support. Of course, the denuclearization process needs a lot of money. Mr. Trump said that it's up to the neighboring countries, Japan and Korea. Well, it's not the case. It is not. In case of the dismantling of nuclear weapons in Ukraine and so on and so forth, in those days, international community supported the denuclearization of the Russian nuclear missiles and weapons located in the neighboring countries, including Ukraine and so on and so forth. It was a commitment of the international community. It was dealt with bilaterally between the United States and Russia or Soviet Union, but well, we have nothing to do with the Russia, Japan. But Japan also participated in the nuclearization process in support of providing a technological assistance or financial assistance. So why not inviting also the other countries, of the world to join this endeavor? It's not simply, of course, the endeavors to be done by the United States. The United States is door opener, and but we will, of course, have to work out a very suitable regime to support the denuclearization process to be participated by many countries, not only in Asia, but also from Europe or other fields. And also, of course, when the abduction issue could be dealt with between the two heads of government, heads of state, between Japan and North Korea, if this abduction issue will be solved somehow through negotiations, so Japanese government is ready to support North Korea in many aspects, where there has already been a commitment in Stockholm, and also the previous foreign ministers also said this. So we're willing to do this, to support the development of the North Korea economically and also other areas in the right direction. Okay. Last but not least, we need to have a grand strategy. We mean Japan, because I think it's not a piecemeal foreign policy, but we should draw a big picture how to make a stable situation in this part of the world, Asia Pacific. Well, Japanese government has also, the grand strategy, which is called Free and Open Indo-Pacific Strategy, which unites the two oceans, Pacific Ocean and Indian Ocean, uniting together in which area the free passage of vessels and also freedom and democracy and free market will be flourishing, So this is the free and open Indo-Pacific strategy we are doing together with the India. We're doing together with Pacific countries, Australia, New Zealand, and we are doing together definitely with the United States. So we have a grand strategy, and this is perhaps a contribution Japan can do to further promote the solidarity among the liberal world order or liberal democratic countries. Okay, and East Asia community concept. Well, I think it is too much to be said. Is it possible to establish such kind of the community in the Asia Pacific, like the case in the European Union? But those East Asian community C is small capital, not large capital. We don't have the community, but a community, loose community, and functional community, based on the interest of the many countries in Asia Pacific. We need not only the participation from the Asia Pacific countries, but also from other areas. We need America, of course. We need Russia, maybe. We need India. Well, so I think this is also a concept, and I hope that if the situation will become, the tense, and if North Korea is also try to do together, is willing to do together, I think we can also invite North Korea to this East Asia Committee, which has not been established yet, but we have a basis. We have a basis. We have the East Asia Summit, EAS. This is composed of the 20-something countries. United States is also the member. Russia is also the member. India is also a member. And so I think we have a basis. Based upon this EAS, East Asia Summit, we can perhaps build on the new type of the relations in Asia-Pacific region. So I have to conclude. Well, there are so many conflicts. I don't have to explain, There are so many conflicts in and around Japan. What must be done? Yes, strong will and responsibility feeling of the leaders. Well, it is very easy to be said, but difficult to be done when it comes to matter of the different type of the leaders in America and also the rest of the world. A big concept is necessary for common security. As I already said, free India, Indo-Pacific agenda or concept, or East Asian Community concept. Strengthening democratic governance and liberal world order. Yes, I have already repeated many times. I don't have to say. But what is more important is promote people-to-people understanding. We need more exchange of peoples. Civil society and communities to promote understanding, even with the Koreans, Chinese, could also be included North Korea sometimes in later stage. And sound public opinion for taming nationalism. This is also the task of the government, and also it's also a task of the individual living in the country, in the region, and how to build up, how to possess a sound, sense of diplomacy or ethical way of behavior for taming nationalism. We have to, cope with the nationalism. In Japan, there is also nationalism. We have also tamed hate speech against Koreans, and so on and so forth. So we have to, educate people. So education, higher education, elementary education, I think it plays also an important role, because enemy is inside of the mindset. In our mind, we have enemy. So we have to, cope with ourselves. Okay, I have spoken too much. And I'm very happy to have you with me, and I'm delighted to answer your questions, even if time is very much limited, 15 minutes or so. Thank you so much.
We would like to go over time, anybody who wants to start the discussion? Diana?
For your remarks, and thank you for your service and sharing your wisdom with us today. I agree with many of the points you made, but one that I wanted to ask about was that you said that it's time for Japan to shift its priorities, that for many years, for obvious reasons, Japan thought a lot about its alliance with the United States and moved in tandem with the United States, and now it may be time for the United States for Japan to step forward in a slightly different direction. I completely agree with you, but I'm curious whether or not many Japanese, whether the average Japanese person or Japanese government officials agree with your perspective, and what the likelihood of that actually happening is.
Well, it is true. And so I think it is not so much easy, because people get used to dependence or mindset of the dependent. of America. And when I talk with even the students of this university and so on, well, why it is necessary. For example, we have an ambition to become a permanent member of the Security Council. We promoted this more than 20 years. When I discussed last time with the students, they said, why it is necessary? America can represent us in Japan, and why should we add one more America in the Permanent Council, member of the Security Council? So this is exactly the feeling that the normal Japanese people have. But we cannot simply rely on the normal feeling of the people, man on the street, man or women on the street. I think what should be done is, of course, it's a duty of politicians to also show the different type of the negotiations with America, because I think I'm not so sure whether the Security Pact will last forever. There is no such kind of Security Pact. So the Security Pact will end at some time, And I see that the beginning of that will start when North Korea dismantle its nuclear devices, weapons, and becoming, the country which is very friendly to the rest of the world. Then I think the starting point. Then we can think of a different type of the security concept here in Asia. Maybe I think the withdrawal from North Korea, from Korean Peninsula of the U.S., or even some part of the stationing forces of the U.S. In Japan could also be decreased and so on. Then it will lead, of course, inevitably the self-reliance of Japan in security and other fields. So I think something will start, and then policy or politics will be running after that. It's always running after that. The fact is, going faster than the politics. But we have to change this also the bad habit of the chasing after the reality. We need a real change of the political field through the elections, of course, and so on. So I do hope that this is a great task for the politicians, and the politicians can be selected by Japanese people, and so we need such kind of the sense that could be harbored. So somebody should also talk to the people, not only politicians but also the scholars and so on and so forth. Should talk and discuss and deepen the understanding on this issue. We are very thankful for America. We're not going to say goodbye or auf Wiedersehen. It's not the case. It's not the case. But the different type of the relationship, security relationship, could also be possible, could be conceived.
Any other question, thought, comments? Matthew?
So if Japan if Japan is to undertake this greater level of independence from the United States and to exert more of an independent role of security leadership in East Asia, when you argue for that, is it implicit within that to assume that some move away from or reinterpretation of Article 9 and the Japanese military limitations just has to happen if Japan is going to assert that greater leadership role in East Asia?
Well, I think yes and no. Yes and no. I think there are many things that we are able to do within the framework of the present constitution, because I think interpretation has been changed a little bit, so as to be able to apply the collective right of self-defense to a very certain situation. I think with it we can also do many things which will be becoming a threat to Japan. So I think, of course, we should exercise this, the new task which is added because of the change of the interpretation of the Constitution. So that's the first thing that we should see. And the second thing is, of course, as Mr. Abe tried to make it happen, the change of the Constitution, Article 9, not only Article 9 but also the other provisions. So I think this could be done, and perhaps must be done. But whether we should have the change of the Constitution rapidly, immediately, this is a different question, because we need discussions. We need consent of the people. We need thorough discussion with with the citizens, So I think this could be a phased approach, but for the time being, there are so many things that we can do within the reinterpreted Article 9 of the Constitution. So we should use this. And there are still many, not a few things that Japan can do without totally relying on the United States. For example, the peace contribution to the rest of the world by dispatching, the PKO troops or even a little bit more, or perhaps exercising partial right of the collective self-defense in case something happens. With or without the security pact, I think we should do. And if Japan will choose the more independent way, then of course I agree with you that we should also increase our preparedness to secure our own security. That would be, of course, the increasing of the budget of the military and building a national awareness, nation's awareness of its own security. Yes, but we should do it in Japanese way, and we should do it with the understanding of our neighboring countries. It's not abrupt change. The change can only happen when the circumstances will change, and when the circumstances will change in favor of the Japanese security, less and less provocation and less threat, then I think we don't need to. Yeah. So it depends on the security environment of Japan, and so that what we have to do right now is to help the United States to negotiate better with North Korea. And that is in favor of the Japanese security situation. So that for time being, we should concentrate on this. We should work together.
I'd like to take one more question. Some final thought, comment? Yes.
すみません、ありがとうございます。私の周りにもですね、日本をまず先生のですね、多くの点で納得する、同意見というところがいっぱいあったんですけども、私の周りにもですね、日本は、戦争に、敗戦国だと、はい、でそれによって日本が本当に自立すること、あと世界的にもそのリーダーシップを取ることについていろいろ考えるところが、いろいろあるのではないかなと、自分自身思うところ2つの意見を聞いて、考えています。で、それについてそのアメリカ人的その外国的な視点から見て、その日本が本当に自立をこれから、自立をしていってもいいのか、本当にリーダーシップを取っていっても本当にいいのかどうかっていうところがですね、その敗戦国だという意識を持った人に対してですね、どう説明していけばいいのかなと僕も思ってます。で、あと2点目がですね、今バブルが崩壊して、日本はもうGDP 的にも全然成長していない形になっており、失われた30年目を迎えようとしていますが、この点先生はですね、やはりアメリカなしに今の日本経済発展しなかったとおっしゃってますけども、これからのですね、こ この失われた30年と、あとこれからのですね、日本の経済、外交政策っていうのはどう進めていけばいいのかというのが、ちょっと私、生きてきて疑問に思ってるんで、すいませんが、よろしく。
いえいえ、よくわかります。敗戦国メンタリティってのがあるんですよね。これはもう私も戦後生まれですから、May I speak in Japanese? 敗戦国メンタリティはあります。私の子供の頃を考えるとですね、そういうことですよ。ただですね、やはりそのメンタリティはですね、少しずつ変わっていくべきだし、それからもっとやっぱり戦後70年も経ってますね。もう70年も経ってるわけですよ。で、日本は70年の間にこれだけ世界的にですね、大きな貢献をしてきて、で、日本は世界で見たら日本人が思うより以上にリスペクトされてるわけですね。だからそのことをですね、我々はもっと自信持たなくちゃいけないはずなんですよ。つまり今までやってきたコースは良かったと。で、我々はそのベースを崩すことなくこれからも続けていくんだと。でも世界は変わってますよ。ね。我々生きている、これから生きていく世界は変わってきます。だからそこにも合わせていかなくちゃいけないので、我々これまでやってきた70年に大きなその自信を持ってね、でこれで良かったということをベースにして、じゃあ次どういくかということをもう考えなくちゃいけない時代に来てると思うんです。今までのようなやり方で今後いけるかというと、それ誰も保証はないですよ。おそらくできない可能性が、ますます経済が落ちていく可能性があるので、ですから新しいシチュエーションに合わせて日本は政治も経済もですね、変わらなくちゃいけない、というふうに思うんですね。ですから憲法だって、私は憲法をむやみたらに変えろという主義じゃないですけども、例えば憲法論議国会でやってますよね。国会でやるのは結構です。でもリーガルなイシューは憲法裁判所でやるべきなんですよ。日本にはないんです、憲法裁判所は。ね、こんな問題を国会の多数決で決めるって話じゃないです。これはちゃんとしたその憲法裁判所でですね、これは違憲なのかどうかということを判決としてですね、もらわなくちゃいけないはずですよ。ドイツはそういうやり方でやってきてるんですよ。日本は最高裁判所はね、ケースがないと憲法判断できないですから、一切ケースがない状況では何もできないんですよね。だから内閣の法制局とか議会で国会で一生懸命やってるんですけども、これは単なる、政治勢力どっちが多いかによって決まるんで、それではいけないんですね。やはり憲法裁判所みたいなやつを導入する必要が出てくるんじゃないですか。で、憲法問題は憲法問題できちっとね、けりをつければ国民だって分かりますよ。それを国会でやるからこういうことになるんです。と僕は思うんですね。ですからそういうことも含めて憲法の問題を考えなくちゃいけないので、何も9条だけじゃないんです。いうことはもう少し考えてみて、やはりもう戦後70年経って日本はもう新しい時代に入っていく、世界は新しい時代に入ってくるときに必要なことは何かというのを見つけるのは、国民に示すのは政治家なんです。政治家がその変なスキャンダルでね、セクハラとかなんかばっかりでね、盛り上がってる、あるいは掛け友とかなんか盛りかけ問題とかね、ああいう問題でね盛り上がってるとこ帰ったら、やっぱりちょっとね、あまりにもね情けない、というふうに言わざるを得ないですよ。国会はもっと別のことを議論してもらわなくちゃいけないということを国民が突きつけなくちゃいけないのに、戦後メンタリティ、敗戦メンタリティを持ったままではですね、一切できないですよね。そういうこと、それから隣国との問題も解決しなくちゃいけないですよ。これもういい加減にしてくれと。日本もやっぱりそこもね、もう戦後も70年も経ってんでしょうということをね、もっともっとね、ちゃんときちっと言っていくべきなんで、そういうことも含めてですね、やる必要が出てくるんじゃないかな。新しい明治維新、今150年ですよね。150年明治維新から経ってるんですが、新しい維新っていうかね、そういう改革っていうのが必要なんじゃないでしょうかね。それから2つ目はですね、経済。経済は僕はあんまりよく分かりませんけどもね、おそらくこれも新しい発想が必要だと、思います。もう大体日本、それは分かってますので、AI とか何とかって言ってますけども、新しい例えばソサエティ 5.0 の考え方とかね、いろんな考え方があるので、そういうことをですね、やっぱり一歩一歩ですね、それを実行に移していくという方法を着実に取っていかないといけないんではないかなと。政治環境が変わればまたチャンスが出てきますよ。北朝鮮が本当にデモクラティックなカントリーになってくると、おそらくそこにも経済協力の相手も増えてくるだろうし、いろんなシチュエーションが変わることによってもっと大きな展開がありますのでね、やっぱり経済を良くしようと思えば政治を良くしなくちゃいけない。そしてさっき言ったように、自由で、民主主義的な 体制っていうものをですね、日本が広めていく一つの旗振り役になってね、そこではもう本当にリーダーシップを取っていくということが必要ではないかと思います。
Seems that we need another conference, and and then this is last remarks was a good transition to the topic of the domestic politics and their implications on international relations. But we have to close this session, and please join me for applause for Professor Shinyo. We are a little bit behind the schedule, but we will take about a 15-minute break, and we will adjourn around. We will resume around 1:45.